Hello. This video is going to be a basic introduction to Inkscape. Inkscape is the design software that we will be using to create our drawings, which we will then be sending to the laser cutter to cut out or to engrave. Now, Inkscape is a vector-based design software, similar to Adobe Illustrator or CorelDRAW or AutoCAD. It's becoming more and more popular. For our purposes, for what we need in order to create drawings to send to the laser, has everything we need. So it's great, and most importantly, my favorite feature is that it is free. So if you go to inkscape.org, you'll come up to this screen here. You just choose your operating system and download it for free. And then once it's on your computer, you can start learning how to use it, practice a few drawings. And if you're doing this at home, you can create a drawing at home and then bring it back into school, and we'll put it on the laser cutter and cut it out. So let's have a look at Inkscape. Once you download it and open it up, it'll look like this. To begin with, you'll want some help learning how to use everything. I mean, you can just sort of start and try and figure things out, but it does get a little frustrating. Always a good idea to use some resources. So the first place to look is under the Help pull-down menu. And if you click on here and scroll down, you see tutorials. And there are a series of tutorials that are really great. They're short, they're very clear, they're easy to follow, and very informative. You work your way through these, and you will learn tons. What I find is that I did the tutorials, and then as I was practicing and doing some drawings, I would run into problems and have to solve certain issues, and in that case I would go back to the Help menu and I would go to Inkscape Manual, and the manual will show up in your browser, and from there you can download it or just read it off the browser. And so I would just look up a very specific issue that I was working on, and then I would find the answers there and carry on with my life from there. So those are two good resources right within the program itself, the tutorials and the manual. Also, if you go online to YouTube, everyone's favorite website, and type in Inkscape tutorials for beginners, you will come up with a billion different videos, instructional videos on how to use Inkscape. And as you explore them, you'll find some are more easier to follow or more informative than others. I really like this one. This is a good one as well, although the audio was a little bit not my favorite. And this one here is also good. So there you go. There's three things right there. The tutorials within the program, YouTube, and the manual are more than enough of what you need. Okay, so here we are in Inkscape, and this video is just going to cover like basic of the basics. To begin with, I should say, though, that we're using Inkscape to create drawings which we can send to the laser cutter. And the laser cutter only really needs to know what line it's going to cut and what line or what shape it's going to engrave. So we don't really need to be creating a lot of fancy and amazing graphics. We're doing very simple shape, line, text, and fill things on here. And Inkscape is a very powerful program, and so you could do all sorts of posters and websites and have backgrounds of different colors and fading and all sorts of textures and patterns, and none of that we'll really be using or have a need for, because we're specifically just making drawings that will then be cut out on the laser cutter. Okay, so when you open it up, you'll have a rectangle on there. That's your drawing area. The size of the drawing area can be adjusted. When you go to the website and you start to use the template files for specific projects, I will have set the page size to match the size of the material that you will be using in the laser cutter, so that when you go to do your drawings, you can see exactly the size of the material that you will be cutting out on. All right, so let's look at how we are going to create drawings here. Three basic things. You're making shapes, you're making lines, or you're making texts. So let's look at, first let me talk about just moving around the screen. Scroll bars on the bottom, scroll bars on the top. Zooming in and out, you'll find you zoom in and out a lot because you'll be like drawing something and then you want to do some fine detail in one area. So you can zoom in down here, these arrows. I can zoom in like this. I can zoom out like this. I can, the plus and minus sign, here's the zooming out on my keyboard with the minus sign and zooming in with the plus key on my keyboard. I can also, on my scroll pad, just with 2 fingers, scroll in and out. Okay, it's not working, but you can do that. There's the scroll button on my mouse, moves this up and down. And also for zooming in, there's a magnifying glass over here, which I don't use that often, but it is there. Maybe you'll like it. And click and zoom in and out. And I right-click to zoom out again. All right, let's start with some drawing stuff. We want basic shapes. With this tool here, it's the Create Rectangular Square, so click on this, click, drag, release, you got yourself a rectangle. This one here, circles, click, drag, and you can make a circle or a rectangle. Oh, look at this. We've got some features going on there. All right. Also, this is a very popular one, the polygon tool here. You click onto it and you can choose either a star shape polygon or a regular polygon. And I've got it on regular, and then you choose your corners, which is the same as sides, or no, 5 corners here. So let's click and drag there, and I have a nice little shape. Okay. So like I said, there's a lot going on here. I'm just giving you a quick introduction to the basics. You'll learn more details from the YouTube videos and going through the tutorials. In terms of drawing a line, there is this tool here, which is a freehand draw tool. So I click onto that tool and I'm holding it down and I draw a line. And no matter how smooth you try to make your hand, it still looks kind of jiggly. So you let go and watch what happens. It automatically smooths out because there is an adjustment you can make over here on how smooth it gets. Another drawing tool is the this one right here, the Bezier curve and straight line. So I'm going to click onto that, and I click, 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 and it goes all over the place. All right, and that's that. So I got some basic shapes, and I got some lines. Next is the text. Text button is down here. Click onto that. I click where I want the text to be. I'll go down here. Cursor pops up. You can go over here and choose any font you want. Don't worry about the font size, but you can choose whether you want it to be, normal or bold or whatever you want. So there I go. I'm going to type in down here. I've lost it. Go back here, type on there, click on there. Okay. There we go. I've got some text. I said don't worry about the font size before, and the reason for that is because when you're editing, you can just change the size of it very easily. So when you're editing, the first thing you need to know is how to select items. So this first tool here is the select button. So I click onto there, I can click onto there, I can click onto there, etc. If I want to click onto more than one item, well, you see how I clicked onto the line, it creates the outside box that line will fit in. If you want to click onto more than one thing at a time, you do your first click and then you hold Shift down and you can select more than one thing at a time. Now once something is selected, you can click and hold and drag it around and move it around. You'll notice the arrows going out in the corners. You can resize it, scale it, change the proportion of the lines. If you click that again, it turns into this rotation thing where I click onto there and I can now drag it around like this. And there are ways of making it more specific if you want an exact angle, but you'll get into that later. And again, with the lines, you can click onto the whole line. You can move a whole line around. You can rotate a line like this. Okay. Now, I'm going to just make some space here. Another way to select an item is just by drawing a box around it. So if on my selecting item, if I want to go like this, you'll see I've dragged a square that has the darker black shapes inside of it, and so those will highlight. But the lines weren't, even though the line ran through my square, it wasn't completely inside of the square, so it didn't get selected. Now I'm just going to hit the delete button, and my shapes are gone, and I'm left with lines. Let's move this line up here. And I want to show you, the text. Let's just look at that quickly here. So again, you don't have to worry about font size for text because you can make your text as big or as small as you want just by clicking and dragging. I mean, you can be very specific and go into that, but even within here, you can adjust the width and the height manually, specifically choose your units, say you want it so many millimeters, and anyways, this is beyond basics, but there's that. I'm going to click onto this, hit the delete button, goodbye. I'm going to select this line here, and then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to hit the editing paths by nodes. When you hit that, you have all these little squares, diamonds at the beginning and end, and squares throughout. And those are called nodes. And nodes are wonderful because you can click onto a node and you can move it around. And so now all of a sudden your line, you can start fine-tuning your line and going crazy on your line. Let's move this down here. Move this down here. I can, I clicked on that node. I can hold my shift button down and click onto another node and another node. And now I lost it. Click on my first one, my second one, my third one, and now I can move all three of them around at the same time. Okay, I'm going to scroll up a bit here. I'm going to drag these down like this. Okay, so nodes are great. You can move a line around. I can also grab into the middle of a line and move it around. So that's one way of actually changing the curve of the line between the nodes. And there's another way of doing that, and that's by this icon up here, which shows the handles on the node. So let's say I click on this node here. Now I've got these lines coming off of it. I clicked on this node, which shows me the handles off of this node plus the handles for the nodes on either side of it. And the handles you can click on and you can pull them out or closer in or further away. And as you move them around, it changes the curve of the line. So I'm going to drag this out a little bit, like that. On this one, I'm going to come in like that. And I find this quite mesmerizing. I end up playing around with nodes and handles far too long. Yeah, lots of fun. So that's a good way to edit lines. This was the line that we drew in the freehand with the freehand tool. With this line here, we drew it with the Bezier tool, but again, there are nodes for that as well. Moving these nodes around, I can click. There's all sorts of features up here that you'll learn over time with editing by using nodes, and they're really great. So I'll just click on that one. For example, I might want that to be, curved instead of pointed off. And so now I've changed those straight lines into curved lines. You can do all sorts of things. You can add nodes in anywhere you want. You can take nodes out. And eventually you end up making basically any shape you want. I think that's going to be enough for our introduction video. This should be enough to sort of whet your appetite to see how cool it is, some of the features, the things you can do. And as a final thing, let me just say that it goes really quickly. I find that when I started, I didn't know anything about using Netscape, or Inkscape, sorry. And I was able to teach myself how to do stuff very quickly, and it didn't take long before I felt confident to open it up and start doing drawings. So I hope you have a similar experience.